woke up to some bad news. There was another gun shooting in Virginia Beach. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that. Part of my work is I work as a mental health counselor, and I've written a couple of works addressing the race construct. The first book is Beliefs Limiting Authentic Cultural Knowledge, which addresses the beliefs in color, the beliefs about color. So it doesn't matter what color you are, but there are racial belief systems associated with color, how we perceive each other through color, and how we internalize those beliefs of perceptions of us based on color. And then my second book is Racism. Here's a copy of that one. Racism, the Disease, and How to Cure It. And I truly believe it can be cured, and it's a work that dares to step out of the traditional thought of the tried and unsuccessful ways of addressing racism, issues of race, diversity, discrimination. It's a much more, the approach that I'm recommending and that I do in my workshops is a much more self-reflective approach, and it's less about pointing fingers and more about examining our own relationships with our perception of what race is. So, and how that's connected to this gun issue is I want to present this premise to you, that our gun issue in America is actually a race issue. Our gun issue is actually a race issue. Now, why do I say that? Well, let me ask you this question. What's the difference between this alleged concept of black on black violence, i.e. Chicago and its mass murder rate, compared to the mass school and workplace shootings that are happening all over the country? What is the difference between those two? And if you really are honest with yourself, if you're being intellectually honest with yourself, you'll come up with the same answer that I already know it is. And that is, there's no difference other than skin color. And the actual color of a skin changes the whole perception of the gun in a person's hand. In both scenarios, it's a gun. In both scenarios, people die. So why are we approaching the violence in Chicago differently than we are approaching mass murders and workplace shootings? Just something to think about. And I really think we do that because the overarching influence on this conversation is our racial belief systems. Smerconish, I like to watch Smerconish, and yes, he's on CNN, and without sounding too political, I know some of you, we're all impacted by the media, and we have our favorite news sources, and so we believe that those we watch, those are the gospel. But believe it or not, I find Smerconish on CNN to be very even-handed in his positions across the board. He entertains all paradigms of thought, all perspectives, and gives each one equal billing, and really tries to call it across the board in an even way without coming across partisan. Now, some of you unfortunately won't see that, because just the fact that it's CNN, those three letters alone, will make you reject any information coming from that channel. And I would say the same issue that impacts guns, our gun issue, also impacts our media issue. I believe that race and media is strongly correlated. We interpret the validity of the information based on our own racial belief system. But that's for another discussion. So the question he asked was, and he did a survey on it, will America's gun problem ever change? Will America's gun problem ever change? So that was a survey question, and at the end of the show, unfortunately, the greater number of respondents predicted that it won't change. So the common consensus of thinking in this country at least by his survey, is that this problem is not going to change, it won't get better, and most likely it's going to worsen. So this is why even supports more of the work that I'm doing addressing the race construct, because I don't believe that the gun problem, can't change or won't change. I know the work that I'm doing, I'm seeing change in thought. And as a person changes how they think, it automatically changes how we approach the problem. And many times, often, we take the same mindset that created the problem and use it to try to solve the problem. And that's a paraphrase off of Einstein. In order to solve a problem, you can't use the mindset that was involved in the creation of it. So my work is intended on having us examine and explore our mindsets.